Hey, Divine Ones, and welcome to another Sunday episode of the live show. I am Jerome Braggs, an intuitive healer, medium, and self love teacher. And my work in the world is to teach people how to heal themselves and create more delicious lives for themselves through the miraculous practice of loving themselves. So we're going to talk a little bit about all of that today. I have a really great topic that I want to share with you that many of you may have not heard before in other places, and that is our four core soul needs. As I'm going to talk about a little bit more today, there are more than four soul needs of our soul, but these are the four core ones. And we'll talk about why the core needs and what core even means and all of that in a second. Um, but I'm just really great to be with you this Sunday. I wasn't able to be with you last Sunday. I was actually, if you follow my page for a minute, you know that I was ill. I was in the hospital last Sunday, and I got a lot of messages from you all wondering about if I was okay and if it was serious and all of that. And it was not a serious illness. I really just had a brief viral infection that only lasted for like a day and a half or something like that. But I had a really high temperature and it wasn't coming down with some of the stuff that I was doing. So I went to the emergency room to get some medicine and ended up finding out in the emergency room that the infection had dropped my blood pressure really low for a while. So that's why I was in the hospital. They just wanted to give me some surveillance, extra surveillance with my history. You know, if you know my story, and I'm going to share it here in a bit, not in great detail, but if you know my story, I had a history with kidney issues, so they wanted to make sure nothing was going on. And then, I did a video before, because people have asked me, if you're a healer and you've done all of this stuff, why do you experience illnesses? And the thing about working with the energy of loving ourselves and expressing more of the energy of our souls in the world doesn't mean that you won't ever face a challenge in your life. Actually, challenges in what I call contrast. And a contrast is just an unpreferred situation that may not feel as good in the moment. But the very purpose of contrast is it helps us expand into something. And I talked into that a little bit in my last video about how when we often have been taught to view unpreferred situations as negative and bad. But what I have come to learn in my situation is that every situation that comes to us as souls having human experiences is there to serve us, and it has a blessing for us. Now it may come wrapped in sandpaper, but it's nonetheless a gift, nonetheless. And when you have a message, when a part of your purpose here on the planet is to share a message with a larger, broader audience in the world, you will often get experiences that will help you understand your message in a broader manner so that you are better able to share your message with the world. And this actual hospital visit was one of those experiences. I had never wanted to be in a hospital again. Before this, I've talked with all of my friends and family about that. I'm not a big fan of hospitals. I'll share with you in another video why. I'm not against hospitals. I view them as a means to an end, but I'm not a fan of them. They're not my favorite places. But as far as visits go, this was actually a very pleasant one. And I wasn't in a lot of pain. I wasn't in anything like that. I was just being observed. And one of the things that they did was they ran a lot of tests. They did some X-rays and some what is that thing? The ultrasounds, like on my heart and my liver and all this stuff. And one of the things that came out, which is again, a lot of times it's their blessings wrapped in sandpaper, is one of the things that I left with was all of my doctors telling me that everything they found was just absolutely healthy, and ridiculously so, surprisingly so, and that made me feel even more blessed. I've been doing a lot of work and healing my life and my body and all of that. And it was just an outside scientific confirmation that the work I was doing was working and had worked for me. So anyway, I just wanted to share with you all because I've gotten a lot of messages that I am well, that all is well, that it wasn't anything really serious. It was just like just kind of the viral infections that we get sometimes, and it wasn't. And you'll understand what viral infections what they mean. And I'll do another video at another time to tell you what I do specifically now when an illness comes up for me. One of the things about illnesses for now is they don't last long, and I don't have very severe illnesses anymore that appear for me because of the work that I'm doing and because of the things that I know. And I know that illness is not a betrayal of my body, it's an indicator, it's a message. And it's a message, one, that I need to do some work to love myself more. And there's something, really a need of mine that I need to address and that needs to be met. And this was no exception. There was a need that I needed to address, and I began addressing that. And just like all of us, when we begin to address our needs, the signal and the indicator no longer is necessary. Just like in your car, if you see the gas signal in the car and it says the gas is low, when you put more fuel in your gas tank, there's no more reason for that signal. The signal goes off. So just like for me, when I put the necessary fuel and paid attention to what the indicator was asking me to fuel myself with, when I did that, no more reason. So I don't need loud signals anymore. But this one I had just been working a little too hard and working a little too long, and there were a lot of things that required my attention in the last few weeks. So I just needed a little bit more rest, and I got that. And now I'm here and well. So anyway, enough about that. I want to dive into today's topic, which is our four core soul needs. So many of you have heard about our physical needs. We've been taught a lot in our schools, in our school systems, and in our other institutions about our physical needs. So you know a lot about what those are. You know, we need water, we need air, we need shelter, we need sleep. Those are kind of our four core physical needs. Now, there are just a few other ones. I think there's there's about 6 or 7 physical needs. And what I mean by physical needs is those are the needs of our physical self. And I explained this in the last video. So I went in more detail than I'm going to go into today. So if you missed the last video, be sure to check out my last live video. It's on my page. It's also on my YouTube channel. I talked a lot about this, but if you think about as a soul having an experience in a human body, there are 2 parts of you. There is the physical part of you, which is the human part of you, which is the part that you see. So this is the part that you can see of Jerome with brown skin and gray and his goatee, with teeth, and he's a male and all of that. That is the physical part of me. But there's another part of me, and the other part of me is the biggest part of me. It's what we call the spiritual part of us, or the soul part of us. That part is made of energy, and it is non-physical, right? So this is physical. That part is non-physical. It is made of energy. It is made of the soul. And that part is the biggest part of us. So if you think about like an iceberg, right? The part that you see, the part that you can see, which is the part that is above water, is the smallest part of the iceberg, right? No matter how big that part may be, it's the smallest part of the iceberg. The largest part of the iceberg is below the surface of the water. It's unseen. It's way bigger than the part that you're seeing above the water. Same is true for us. The largest part, the part that we see, which is the physical part of us, is not the biggest part of us. The largest part of us is the unseen part, which is the energetic part, which is the soul part. And if you follow my page, I posted a few times about how your energy is realer than your physical body, and it's bigger. The energy part of you is bigger, and it has needs just like this physical part does, just like that. And we're not really taught about what those needs are and how to meet those needs and what happens in our lives when those needs aren't getting met. So I told you what the 4 physical needs are, which are water, food, a good nutrition, sleep, and shelter, right? So what happens when those needs don't get met, right? When we're not getting food, when we're not eating, when we're not getting water, when we don't have shelter, or when we don't sleep. Well, there's something that happens. The body will send you, and there's actually three phases of what happens when a physical need is not met. So the first phase is that the body sends you just kind of an uncomfortable signal. It's not a very pain based signal, but it's just a little bit of uncomfort that gets your attention. So if you haven't been eating for a while, let's say you've gone a day or two without, let's say you've gone a whole day without eating, the first thing that's going to happen is your body's going to send you a signal of hunger, right? It's going to send you a signal in the stomach about being hungry. If you haven't had enough water in a while, you're going to be thirsty. You're going to have thirst. That's the first thing. If you haven't had sleep, right, in a while, if you haven't rested enough, you're going to feel sleepy. You're going to start feeling a little tired. If you don't have shelter, right, if you don't have accurate enough shelter, there's a lot of different things that the body does with that. You may experience just being uncomfortable, the body not feeling well enough, or the body not feeling relaxed, or things like that. So when we're not meeting a physical need, right, the first thing that happens is the body sends you a physical response of uncomfort, or something discomfort somehow, thirst, hunger, sleepiness, something like that. If you continue to not meet the need after you've received that initial signal, that signal goes from being just one of discomfort from one of being painful. So you go from discomfort to pain. So the water, if you don't have enough water, you've gone without water for a while, instead of just being mildly thirsty, your mouth gets to dry. Your mouth starts to dry out. Your lips will start to chap. And you'll feel a different level of fatigue in the body, right? And your blood pressure may drop and things like that, right? So you're now going from discomfort over into pain. Same thing with if you don't get food. If you've gone a while without meeting the physical need of having food in the body, then you go from being mildly hungry to starvation, right? So and all the things that happen with starvation, with the body starting to digest some of your cells and some of your muscular structure, and all types of stuff like that, right? So it goes from just being mildly hungry to actually having what we call hunger pains, to where it's actually really strongly painful in the stomach and things like that. Same thing with some of the other, if you don't have sleep, right? If you've gone without sleep for a while and at first you get just a little tired, now you begin to have sleep deprivation where you start to hallucinate, you have extreme fatigue in the body, and you just have a level of pain with that. So that's the second phase, right? Third phase that happens when a physical need is not being met is you go from discomfort to pain to now suffering. So if you go for a long time without food, we've gone without a long time without meeting your need for food, the body starts to break down. And that's when illnesses may show up. That's when certain dysfunctions of the body doesn't function well. Your bones start to break or they become brittle. You lose a lot of weight, things like that, right? When you've gone too long, your body starts to break down and you have an element of suffering. You are in chronic pain, right? And your body is in illness. Same thing with thirst. If you've gone without water and for so long, and again, there's a certain level of time where our bodies just cannot live without these things, right? So you go into the suffering portion of it when you're getting close to the point where you can't live anymore without that. We go without water. You really start, a lot of different physical things start to happen to the body when it is deeply dehydrated. It starts to shut down. And same thing without sleep. If you've gone a long time without sleep, and past the point where you feel tired, past the point where you're having hallucinations and strong fatigue and things like that, you go past that point and still haven't gotten sleep, you start to go into the things that come up when the body is sleep deprived. And that can be illnesses, that can be, a lot of viral infections and things like that come up when the body is sleep deprived. Again, the body doesn't operate well, etc., like that. Same thing with shelter. You go for a long time without shelter, there's a level of suffering that happens with that. So the body has, different defense levels to help you realize this is a need, right? And a need is something that is non-negotiable, right? When you go without this particular thing, it has consequences. And it has negative consequences on your well-being. That's what a need basically means. It's something that you need to maintain and experience well-being. And without it, you will have negative consequences to your physical health, to your mental health, etc. So that's another thing with the physical needs. Your mental health starts to go as well, right? Not just the physical health. If you don't get food, you don't get water, you don't get accurate sleep, etc., your mental health, your mental capacities, your ability to think straight, your ability to see straight, your ability to process information begins to go. Now, once you go even longer than the period past this, when the suffering signals come up. And again, these are all just indicators. They're not just the body going wild and going crazy when our physical needs, and see, we understand this because we're all taught this. It's not that our body's just going wild and crazy when our physical needs aren't being met. This is something, it's an indicator. It's our body sending us an indicator that we are not getting something that we need and that we need to stop and begin to shift over to address meeting the need of that particular thing, right? So when you're hungry, it doesn't mean that something's wrong with your body, right? When you begin to be thirsty and experience thirst, it doesn't mean something's wrong with your body. When you feel sleepy, it doesn't mean something's wrong with your body. We all have been taught to know that those things mean you need to sleep, you need to eat something, and you need to drink something, right? And I'm going to tie this into the soul needs at first, but I want to be very clear that what a need is and how we understand what needs are physically, right? So these are the needs of our physical selves, and this is how we address them. When we get sleepy, when we're thirsty, when we get tired, we do what's necessary to address that need, and then those signs go away. You get accurate sleep. You're no longer sleepy. You're no longer hallucinating. You're not fatigued. When you drink enough water, you don't have dehydration. You don't have chapped lips. You don't have the chapped tongue. Your blood pressure goes up, all of those things. When you eat, you get proper nutrition in. Your body doesn't feel hungry. It's not breaking down. It's able to operate. It's able to work well. And so those things are just signals. They're signals for a need that needs to be met within you. And when you meet the need, that particular signal goes away. So now, when we talked about this being the physical part, and again, like the iceberg, the part of the iceberg that we see represents, is not the biggest part of the iceberg. The biggest part is the part that's underneath the ocean. This is the same thing for us. This physical part that we see is not the biggest part of us. The biggest part of us is the energetic and the soul part of us. It has needs too. But we've been taught to just understand what our physical needs are and to address those. And what we haven't been taught is what our soul needs are. And there's a lot of science that's coming around. I'm going to share some of the studies that have come out that have been really interesting, that'll help you understand this here in a minute. But there's a lot of science coming out now that helps you see that we have other needs besides just what we've been taught about the physical needs, that we have what they're calling psychological needs, which, if you know the base root of psyche, is actually the base root of psyche is soul. So these are soul needs, right? They're energetic needs. And when these needs go unaddressed and they go unmet, they also send signals. And if we live lives where we have a prolonged period of time where our soul needs aren't being met, there are also dire consequences to that. Just like our physical needs, if we don't meet our needs, eventually we'll die. Like you can't go for a long time without eating food, without dying. You can't go for a long time without drinking water, without dying. You can't go without being deprived of sleep for a long time without dying. If you don't have accurate shelter for a long time, you will not survive for a long time. This is the same thing that happens with our soul needs. And this is something that happened in my own journey that I learned firsthand about. Like this is not something I learned about in a book. I learned later after I had my own experience with this, that there's now studies coming out, but these studies weren't out when I was going through my healing journey. I kind of had to learn this stuff firsthand, and nobody was really talking about this. But because the soul part of us is the biggest part, it's the biggest part. So there are more needs. My journey has taught me that there are 11 soul needs. Just like, there are probably about 6 to 7 physical needs. Our soul it's about 11 needs there. I'm going to be talking about the 4 core ones. So just like what I mean by the 4 core ones is when these needs are met, we can go a long time thriving. Right? Our lives can thrive and our bodies can be healthy. When they're not met, we're not going to be able to go very well without our lives going into dysfunction or going into illness in some way. Just like we have core physical needs. Like the core physical needs are food, water, sleep, and shelter. You can't survive very long when those things are not being met. Right. And so the same thing goes with our 4 core soul needs. We can't survive very long without these 4 things being met. So before I tell you what these 4 core things are, I want to share with you a study that was done. And I meant to write all of this down so that I could get all the names. So I'm not going to be able to remember the names of these people because I forgot to write their names down so that I could, accurately resource them when I was talking about this. But the study was a study that was done, I think it was done around 2000. And this study was done with rats. And so what they did with rats was before I tell you this study, what happens when our needs aren't met is we will try to meet them some type of way. We'll either try to soothe the pain of them, or we will try to meet them in unhealthy ways. So the first thing that happens is the body sends us a signal that this need is not being met, and this need needs to be met, right? The other thing that happens is we'll either meet the need, and if we don't meet the need, we'll try to soothe the pain of the need, right? So if you're hungry and you can't get food, right? Let's say that you're in a place where you can't get food right away. You'll try to do something to soothe that hunger, right? Or to try to meet that hunger. And a lot of times you'll do it unhealthily. So you'll eat things that aren't really food and that aren't really proper nutrition for you. And that ends up toxifying you, right? Because it ends up toxifying you, but you're doing it because, you don't have anything else. You don't have proper nutrition. You don't have anything there to do that. Same with water. A lot of times when people go without water, they'll try to meet that thirst in unhealthy ways, which is like a prime example when people are on the ocean and they've gone a long time without water and they don't have clean water to drink. They'll just end up drinking the salt water, which dehydrates you further and leads to early death. But many people have died like that because they're trying to meet the need and trying to soothe the pain and the suffering that they're experiencing in an unhealthy way. So that's something I want to add to this before I jump into our soul needs. So what happens when we when we start to receive the signals that we need, the painful and suffering signals that there's a need of ours that needs to be met, if we don't have accurate access to that particular need, or we don't know how to meet that need in that moment, we'll try to meet it in some type of unhealthy way and try to soothe the pain of that, which really leads to us toxifying ourselves further. So I want to share with you this study. So there was a study done where they looked at rats, and they put rats in, they isolated them. So they had them by themselves. They put them in a room. And in that room, they had two bowls. One bowl was filled with clean water. And then the second bowl was filled with water. And I think it was heroin. It was some type of drug, right? But I think the drug was heroin. And they wanted to look and see, they were looking at addiction and, dysfunctional behavior. And they wanted to see if how often would the rats choose. I see some of you all say that the live is pausing and buffering. Hope that's not still an issue. If that's still an issue, you guys, please let me know. I don't see anything on my end, so I'm wanting to make sure that everything's okay. But for you all who are still watching with me live, I do see some of you. I'm just now seeing you say that the live was buffering, so I'm hoping that's not the case for all of you, or if it was, that it fixed itself very soon. So with the rats, they looked at them and saw they were looking at addictive behaviors, and so the rats in these isolated experiences. We're choosing the heron water over the regular clean water. And they were getting high and they were choosing it often. So they were becoming addicted to it and experiencing some of the negative effects from addiction. And what they initially concluded was, given the chance to experience drugs, we were always going to choose drugs, right? And that's going to be the thing. Like, we're going to choose the dysfunction. But another researcher came a few years later and looked at this study and said, well, wait, let's try something different here. These rats are isolated. They're by themselves. And rats are not really isolated creatures. They move in communities. So let's take them out of this isolated experience and try them in a different environment. Let's take them out of the isolated environment and try them in a different environment. So they created something what they call Rat Park. And in Rat Park, they had other rats. So they had other rats in that experience with them. They had they had food that the rats would love, like their favorite little food, whatever they love to eat, their favorite rat food. That they had that in there. They had little things that they could climb on and burrow under, and all like kind of activities that rats like. So they placed them in that particular environment, and they placed the heroin water in there as well, right? And what they found was that in Rat Park, right, in the experience where the rat had community and it had little things that it liked to engage with and it had things that it was pleased with, they did not choose the heroin water. They didn't drink it. And if they drank it, they did not abuse it. They didn't use it often. They rarely ever went to it at all. And what they found was when we're given the things that make us feel fulfilled, basically what we need, like community and fun and joy and all the things that offer our sense of connection and fulfillment, that we don't engage in dysfunctional behaviors, right? And this is so true for what I found. And there's a lot of scientific research, even though I am a scientist because my initial degrees are in psychology, but I'm much more interested in the soul stuff. And I know that science is often way behind in knowing actually how the soul works and how this reality actually works. But I'm glad science is catching up with this. But what we're now finding, and there's been many studies that have been done around the world, is that when people get what they need, when they get these soul needs met, which I'm about to share with you in a second, when they get these soul needs met, they don't engage in dysfunctions. And what I found is a lot of times, most times, almost all the time, when we are getting our soul needs met, a lot of the illnesses, especially the chronic illnesses and diseases that we're experiencing, disappear as well. Because those illnesses, and you've heard me say this, it's basically one of the pillars of my message. You've heard me say that illness is not just something random that happens. It's an indicator. It's an indicator of where we need to love ourselves more. And one of the main practices of self-love is meeting your needs, getting your needs met, making sure that your needs are met. The problem is a lot of us are not really educated on what our actual needs are, right? We know a lot about what the physical needs, but we do not know what the spiritual needs are, what our soul and energy need is. And again, remember, the energy part of you is the biggest part of your being. And so here are the 4 soul needs. The first need that the soul needs is a sense of belonging and community, right? So a sense of belonging, like that you have a group that you feel like you belong to. And why the soul needs this is because belonging and a sense of community fulfills your need for a feeling of oneness, which is where the soul, the non-physical part of us, that's where it resides. That's what it is, right? Even here, we're still, even though we have these individual physical bodies, our soul is still one with everyone. We are still connected with everyone. We are still doing that, right? It's all over the place. That doesn't change. You just have we are oneness having an experience of individuality, but we are not individuality. We are oneness. And so a sense of belonging and community is a need of ours. We need it. It is not something that can be placed on the margins. It is not something frivolous. It is not something that is negotiable. You need a sense of belonging and community in your life. Now, our culture, especially the Western culture, has really divorced us from this and really divorced us from understanding our needs from this. We're really taught to place our individuation above everything else, to separate ourselves from other people, to believe in our separateness, and to isolate, especially to isolate. And there has been countless of scientific studies that have shown the danger of experiencing isolation for too long to our health. There's one study, I do a whole talk on all the different scientific studies that have been shown on the negative effects on our health around loneliness. The talk is called Community as Medicine. And one of the studies that was found, and I think it was found by John Capiccio, which is a professor at University of Chicago, that found that the feeling of loneliness, the feeling of being, and what loneliness really is it's a feeling of being isolated from the people you love, and isolated from a sense of belonging and community. So the feeling of loneliness has more of a negative effect on our health. And this is a study that was found, right? They did a scientific study and they found this, that it has more negative effects on our health than if you smoked 15 cigarettes a day. I want you to think about that for a second. And there's way more studies that show way more. And I don't have time in this particular talk to go through all of that. But the feeling of loneliness has more negative effects on our health when we have a prolonged feeling of loneliness than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And we already know, many of us know, what the negative effects of smoking 15 cigarettes a day will have on our health. So imagine just that feeling, right? So we need a feeling of connection. We need a feeling of togetherness, right? Of oneness. And this is what community and belonging is. This is why it's one of our core needs. It's one of the core soul needs, right? It's an energetic need. And so, like our physical bodies, remember when I spoke in the beginning about what happens when our physical bodies don't get what they need. They send us a signal to let us know. The same thing happens when we're not meeting our energetic and our soul needs. We get signals. And there's 3 signals. Again, it comes in, the first one is discomfort, the second one is pain, the third one is suffering. So the first one, discomfort, is when you have not meeting the need of community and belonging and connection for a while, you're going to start to feel a little, just a little bit lonely. It's not a huge, deeper feeling of being alone, but it's a feeling of wanting to be with people, wanting to be. A lot of us have felt kind of the antsy feeling when you feel like, oh, I just need to be around some people. I really need to be around my people for a minute. I need to see them. That's kind of the first signal when your soul is saying we need this. You've gone too long, without getting this, right? And just like physical needs, it doesn't mean you need to have it 24/7, right? You don't need to be eating 24/7, right? And it's different for every person how much of it you need, even with physical needs, right? You may not need to eat as much as I need. A person who's working out more than I'm currently working out needs to eat more than I need because their body needs to refuel more with food. And so they may need to eat 5 or 6 times a day, whereby I eat 3 to 4 times a day. Right. So, and somebody who's not doing the action that I'm doing may need to eat twice or once a day. Right. So, or every other day, but you have a level, your body has a level of the amount of food that it needs to intake. And when you are not meeting that need, it's going to send you the signal of being hungry. Right. Same thing with community. The amount of community and connection that you need is different from the amount of community and connection I need. This is where our individuality comes in. Like we're all one. We are all one. We're part of the all that is. We're part of Source. We are individuated incarnations of Source. But where your individuation comes in is in your unique need. Like we all have the same needs, but how we meet those needs and the level to which those needs need to be applied to us are different and unique. So your level of community may be different than mine, right? You may need just like I'm an introvert, right? And so I don't need to be around a large amount of people for long periods of time because that drains me. That leaves me feeling drained. But I don't need to be isolated and by myself all the time either, because then I start to feel alone and I start to feel the effects of being lonely and I suffer. And so, but the amount of together time that I need may be different than a person who's an extrovert. An extrovert needs more community time, right? And may need a larger group of belonging. Some people may need just a group of 3 and 4 friends, maybe 2 to 3 friends. Some people need 10, right? Some people need large communities of people. So, and there have been many studies that have been found on the healing effects of community when people are in communities, when they stay in consistent relationship with the communities where they feel a high sense of belonging and connection to, what that does on their health. And what the health benefits that has for them. So again, your body will send you first a signal of like a little antsiness, like you want to be connected. The second thing, which is the painful feeling, is you'll feel the sense of being lonely. You'll start to feel lonely. You'll start to feel a longing for other people and connection, right? And if you can't meet that, right? Maybe you can't meet that because, and I've talked a little bit about this, and I'll have to do another video on this, but I talked a little bit about my own experience with this, where I realized that being where I live in Oklahoma, the community that I feel really connected to, which is other Black same gender loving men that I feel the most belonging to, is not in prevalence here, right? And not just Black same gender loving men, but Black same gender loving men who are doing healing work, who are open and understand spiritual principles and things like that. That's the community there are other communities that I feel belonging to, but that's the one that I feel the highest sense of belonging to. And I just don't have that, here, and not in the frequency that I like, and not in the number that I would like, right? So in order to meet that need for myself, I have to travel a lot. I have to go where my tribe is a lot. And so that's why I travel a lot. And not just travel for work, but I also travel to meet that need. I travel to go and spend time with my community so that I am fulfilled and that I am not not meeting my need. Because the thing that happens after you begin to experience the painful, which is you feel lonely, is the suffering comes in. And the loneliness suffering is the thing that happens with that is there's two things. Um, we start to, this is, it starts to break our bodies down. And so again, a lot of the illnesses that we're experiencing, the chronic illnesses and the diseases that we're experiencing are literally just indications of unmet needs. Now, I've talked a lot and I've done a lot of videos about when we don't feel love in it, when we don't have enough love energy, which is life force energy in our bodies. Our bodies were created to house love energy. They were created to house life force energy. And when we don't have enough life force energy in our bodies, we are begin to be robbed of the fuel that our bodies need to thrive. Just like our cars, when we don't have gasoline, or if your car runs on electricity, whatever, if you don't have the right amount of fuel in it, it will send you the gas signal that you need to refuel. And if you continue to run that car after you get the signal that you don't have enough fuel, your car will break down. It's the same with the body. It's the same with our bodies. And this is something we're not being taught in our schools. We're not being taught in our medical systems. We're not taught how the body actually works and how we actually work. And the thing that charges life force energy through us more than anything else is when we're meeting our needs, especially our core needs, when we're meeting our needs on a consistent and prolonged basis. So one of our top core needs is our need for connection, community, and belonging. Right? And when we begin to go for a long time, when we live lives where we go for a long time without meeting that, we feel lonely for a long time, our bodies begin to shut down. They begin to develop illnesses. I can't tell you how many clients I've worked with, or how many times I've seen this, where, as a matter of fact, I'll tell you another study they found, another study that was done, particularly on health, here in a second, that speaks directly to this. But I can't tell you how many clients I've worked with where in my work as an intuitive healer and self-love teacher, I am looking at when someone comes to me who has an illness, again, knowing what illness is, that is an indicator that we are not, like, we don't have enough love energy in our bodies. And that usually means we're not meeting our needs, we're not prioritizing our joy, or we don't feel good enough about ourselves. So my work with people is to find out, like, what is it? What part of love energy do you need that's missing, that you've been withholding yourself from? And what do you need to do to charge that part of love energy within you? And a lot of times the part that is missing from a lot of people that I've seen is the community and the belonging piece, that they've been feeling lonely for a long time. And a lot of the illnesses that they're experiencing are just the body saying, I am suffering here because I have been being kept from the feeling of belonging community, which charges the energy of love through the body, right? And oftentimes when they do the work of just experiencing more community and belonging in their lives and connection in their lives for a prolonged time, a lot of times their body just heals itself. I've said this before. When you give your body the life force energy that it needs, the amount of life force energy that it needs, it will heal itself. It knows what to do. The body's natural design is to be well. And the only reason why it's not well is because we are depriving it of something that it needs. Now, the thing that it needs is love energy. But we are depriving ourselves somehow of love energy, the love energy that it needs. And this is one of the ways we deprive ourselves. We don't meet our energetic needs. And the first need is for belonging. Now, here's a study that was done really quickly. And I can't remember this guy's name. I forgot to write these down before I sat down so that I have these names. But you can Google these yourself. They're out there. This is not made up. You can find these. But there was a guy, I believe he was Italian, and I think he was living in America. And he had been diagnosed with a terminal illness. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but his doctor had given him like 3 months to live and said, there's nothing we can really do. You need to get your affairs in order. There's no treatment for this. You have about 3 months to live. And so, he was an immigrant into America, and a lot of his friends and his family still lived in Italy. I believe it was Italy. It might be Greece, but it's either Greece or Italy, but I believe it's Italy. And so When he got the diagnosis and when he found out, that he only has a short amount of time to live, he was like, I don't want to spend my last days isolated. And I don't want to spend my last days away from the people that I love. I want to spend my last days with the people that I love. So he packed up everything and he moved back home to Italy. And he moved back into a community where his friends were. And so every day, like his friends would come over, they would see him, like sitting on the porch. So they would come over and they would have food and share food together, and they would drink into the wee hours of the night. He got to see his family and his brothers and sisters and share time and see his nephews and nieces and just spend time with them. And he just felt this, and he said he kind of felt this immense feeling of connection and love. And lo and behold, 3 months passed and he was still alive. And lo and behold, another year passed and he was still alive. And his body had completely healed itself. And he had completely healed. Completely, right? Of this terminal, incurable illness. He had completely healed from it without any type of medical intervention, because there was no cure for it. And he wasn't doing any of that over in Italy, without changing his diet any type of way. By the way, he was eating all the fats, all the sweets, because he believed he was dying in 3 months. So he gave himself everything that he really loved to eat. And I think it was like 10 to 15 years passed. And he came back to the United States. He moved back to the US. And he went to see his doctor. He was going to see his doctor, the same doctor that had seen him, because he wanted to show his doctor, hey, I'm alive and I'm doing really well and I'm really healthy. And he went back, and that same doctor had passed. And that same doctor had died. And there was a new doctor in his place. And so he was talking to this new doctor, and the new doctor, the new doctor was asking him, like, what did you do? And he was like, nothing. I just, and he told him, I spent time around, I was with family. I drank wine every night with my friends. I laughed. I joked a lot, and I just felt this immense feeling of love. And this is a thing that science will catch up with, I hope, one day. It's probably not going to be soon enough to affect you all. This is why we have people like me out here sharing this message. But this is what heals. When we begin, this is something that I learned in my own healing journey that I had to learn for myself, that I truly believe. I believe that if you do nothing else but just meet the needs that you have that are being unmet, if you discover what the unmet need is in you and you begin to meet it, that alone will dramatically change your health status, if not completely heal it by itself. I have seen it time and time again in other people, and I know for myself that was the key to my own healing. The key for me was to do the work of feeling good about myself. And I have several videos, on my page and on my YouTube channel where I talk about why feeling good about ourselves is important, and how the feelings of shame, and judgment and criticism rob us of the life force energy that our bodies needs to be healthy. So if you do that work, right, that's number one. The other part is really just meeting your unmet needs. Right? So that's the first one, right? Community, connection, and belonging. And again, when we don't have that and we're experiencing the pain from it, and when we don't meet it in the way that is the healthy way, when we just don't get the community of belonging, a lot of times we'll try to soothe that suffering. And this is where a lot of addiction comes from. This is where as a matter of fact, I won't say all addiction comes from the unmet need of community, because there are some other unmet needs that addiction arises from. But a lot of addiction, especially drug use, comes from the unmet need of belonging and community and connection. And usually that stems from childhood. Like somehow during the childhood, we didn't feel the caregiving systems that we were under didn't make us feel a sense of belonging or connection or community. This is why substance abuse is very high amongst the LGBT community, because, gay, lesbian, and trans kids and queer kids are often made to feel unwanted and like they don't belong in their childhoods and in their caregiving spaces. And that's why a lot of them adopt addictions, right? To try to soothe that pain of being lonely and not feeling like they belong anywhere, right? Um, uh, Whether that addiction is drug addiction or sex addiction or something like that. A lot of the addiction underneath that is you're just doing it to try and soothe the pain of a unmet need. And for a lot of people, people that are experiencing addiction, that unmet need usually has to do with belonging and community. So the second unmet need is um, peace and safety, the feelings of peace, right? And what I mean by peace is the feeling of being safe and the feeling of being at ease, right? That there's no like constant conflict in you, that there or around you, in your environment or within you. There's no, you feel safe and secure, and you're at ease, right? That's the feeling of peace. That is a need, right? Because one, that is how the soul, our soul, our higher self, that's the vibration of it. It feels peace. And so it needs that in our life. And when we don't have that, when we're in relationships that are tumultuous, when we are living a life that it has a lot of conflict, um, the first signal. And so again, I meant to tell you the signals that when our physical needs aren't being met, it's a physical signal. You know, thirst and hunger, sleepiness, those are physical body signals. When a soul need is going unmet, the first signal is an emotional signal. So you get an emotional signal instead of a physical signal first. So, and it'd be an emotional feeling of discomfort. So when we're not at peace, we feel stressed, right? That's going to be the first sign. It's going to be the discomfort. You feel stressed a little bit. The next level, which is usually pain, is you'll feel tightness. Like a lot of times, I know when I have not felt at ease and at peace in my life, my shoulders will get tight or my back will get tight. A lot of clients I've worked with that are stressed out, the stress operates the fight, or freeze system in the body, which when we feel some type of stress, some type of threat to our system, our bodies go into fight, flight, or freeze. They flood the body with stress hormones of cortisol and adrenaline. And when those hormones are in the bloodstream for too long, right, more than like 24 hours, they have a negative effect on their health. This is why a lot of people say stress is one of the main causes of illnesses, because when we are not at peace, when we're not meeting the need of peace, we begin to be in stress, right? And the longer we begin to be in stress, the longer cortisol is in the system, the hormone of cortisol floods the system, it begins to affect our ability to digest food. This is why a lot of times when we're stressed, we have gut issues and digestion issues. It keeps the body from healing. It turns off the body's ability to heal itself. So a lot of infections and things when we're stressed. That's why a lot of people who are in high stress get a lot of infections and bacterial infections and things, because the body's immune system is suppressed when we're in fight, flight, or freeze. And also, stress it just wears the body down. And so the longer you are not at peace, right? And no matter what you're not at peace from, you might not be at peace because you haven't forgiven someone yet. Like you had some issue with someone and you're still holding that resentment within you. You might not be at peace because you're in a tumultuous relationship. You might not be at peace because you're working a stressful job. You might not be at peace, because you don't like where you live. Like whatever the peace or the you might not be feeling safe because you're in a very violent environment, right? Not just a relationship, but you may be in a war-torn country, or you may be in just it may not even be that extreme. It just maybe your environment around you is stressful. Like you have people and friends around you who stress you out. So you want to look at that. Like you need peace is a need. We need to feel safe and we need to feel at ease. And so when you don't feel those things, stress takes over the body. and fear, right? So when you're not at peace, you'll feel a feeling of stress, or you'll feel a feeling of fear. The same two things, right, operate the fight, flight, or freeze syndrome in the body. And that's when the body signal starts to happen. You start to tighten up. Your blood pressure will start to rise. A lot of different things happen physically. And again, these are the signals that begin to cause pain. If you do not listen, like if you do not meet that need, I won't just say do not listen to the signals, right? But if you go for a longer time and you do not meet your need for peace, right? For the energy of peace within your body, then that's when the suffering starts to happen. That's when stress-related illnesses come up. That's when stress-related chronic illnesses and disease come up, right? You'll be surprised by how much you can heal by just bringing your life back to ease. Like that's the main reason why it's called dis-ease. Dis-ease. The body is out of ease, right? And you'd be amazed just by bringing your body at ease, looking at your life and saying, where am I not at ease? Where am I not at peace? What do I need to do to bring more peace to my life? And not just stuff out here, right? I know I've been talking a lot about external things, but I'm also talking about external fixes, but also internal fixes. Like, what beliefs are you holding about yourself and about the world that are scaring the shit out of you, that are causing you to be in fear a lot? What beliefs and thoughts are you holding that are causing you not to be at peace? Right? We also can hold beliefs internal beliefs that will withhold us from feelings of belonging community. Right? If you believe that you can't come out, like this is something that I had gone through for a long time, for most of my life, feeling that, it was unsafe for me to fully come out and be to let other people know that I was the same gender loving person. Right? And to let someone and to actually live that truth. So what that kept from me was, because since I didn't live that truth in public, I never was able to find my tribe, right? Which was the tribe that I really felt a deep sense of belonging to, which was people like me, right? Not just people who looked like me, but people who loved like me, people who moved through the world like me, right? People who understood my journey and that would see me and that would appreciate me for who I am and for how I move through the world. And a lot of times we hold beliefs and we have a patterns of thinking that will cause us to not meet our needs. So it's not just about doing the physical actions, which it is about, right? Changing your lifestyle so that your needs are met. But it's also about changing your thinking so that you allow your needs to be met. Right? You allow the need to be met. And you can allow yourself to do what you need to do, or you can allow the universe to lead you to the meeting of your needs. So it's both the internal actions and the external actions that you need to do to meet these needs. Right? And so again, if we don't have feelings of peace, right? If we're not meeting the need of peace, we'll try to soothe the pain of the stress. And that's why there's all of these anxiety medications. There's all of these depression medications out there, because depression is also another signal that the body, it's an emotional signal that the body will send for a lot of reasons. For some reasons, people are depressed because they're lonely and they don't have a sense of belonging and connection. It's not just that, but we've been taught, again, you're depressed because there's this imbalance in your brain, and that's where it's actually coming from. Well, again, energy is the root cause of everything. And you have an energetic imbalance. And the energetic imbalance is you don't have a sense of community, which is causing the brain imbalance, right? And it's causing, and the feeling of depression is, I need more togetherness. Or the feeling of depression may be, I'm not at peace. I'm not at peace. I am stressed the hell out. Or I just don't like where I am. I'm not at ease. I don't feel a sense of security. Financial things can stress you. It can lead you to feeling not at peace, right? If you don't feel a sense of financial security, right? If you're in poverty, right? And you don't know where your next meal is going to come from. or how you're going to pay your next bill all the time. That can cause a sense of being unease and not feeling at peace. And that sense as well can eventually, when it goes prolonged, it can lead to illness. And we're not taught that a lot of times the chronic illnesses and diseases that we're experiencing, that it's not because of that bacteria. It's not because you didn't drink your green juice enough. It's not because you didn't exercise enough. While those things can help, right? They are not the root cause of why the illness is there. The illness is there as an indicator that you have an unmet need, and you have not been needing that need for a long time. And we've just been taught to that, this body is doing crazy things, and the only way to do it is to, fix your diet. Again, we've been taught that all that exists is the physical part of us, right? So it's the top of the iceberg again, right? So we've been taught that the top of the iceberg is all that you are. So when this illness comes up, you got to fix it like that. So you got to take this medicine, or you got to take this, drink this green juice, or you got to do that. And you're not looking at the bigger part of yourself. That is the energy part of you. That's the soul part of you. And not seeing where you're not being nourished, where that's not being nourished. And that's what this healing is really about. Looking at all the parts of you and what needs to be nourished, what needs to be met. And I promise you, when you begin to nourish your unmet needs, when you begin to meet them, it charges life force into you. It fuels it through you, and the body just begins to heal itself. You begin to have a sense of community. You begin to put yourself at peace, right? Watch how your health begins to improve just on its own without you changing anything to your diet or anything else. Again, I'm not saying don't change your diet. I'm not saying, because another one of your needs that we're not going to talk about today in detail because it's not one of the core ones, but another one of your needs is you need to feel a sense that you are doing what's right for you, and that you are moving in the direction of your desires and your dreams. So if you believe that eating a certain way is important to you and will get you where you need to go, you need to eat that certain way. That's meeting your need for feeling like you're doing what you need to do, you're doing what's right for you, and that you're moving in the right direction, right? But what I'm saying is you could go vegan and eat all organic and do the chakra cleanses and drink the green juice and, do all these other healing modalities. And if these needs are still not being met, you're still going to get the signals, because that's what they are. They're just signals to tell you we have this unmet need that's been going for too long and we can't do this. Just like Rat Park, right? Remember the thing in the beginning. When the rats were in Rat Park with all of their needs, they had their need for community. They have their need for joy, which is need number 3, by the way. I'm getting ready to close it up because we're on the hour, but need number 3 is joy. They had their need for joy. They had little fun, little things they could run and jump on and all that. That all their needs were being met. They didn't have a desire for the dysfunction anymore, right? And I guarantee you, had the study been done on those rats for a longer period of time than a short period of time, like a different wise, I guarantee you that if they isolated those rats for a prolonged period of time, and for all of you psychologists out there, this would be a study to do, because this would be a study to really do, because I doubt if a lot of people are looking at it from this perspective, because we're not taught to look at it like this. But I bet if they isolated those rats and they isolated them from their needs for a prolonged amount of time, those rats would start getting sick and they would start developing diseases, versus the ones that were in Rat Park. I bet the ones in Rat Park were healthy, not just happy and fulfilled, but they were healthy. And the ones that were isolated were not. I guarantee you, if you did that study, you would find that. So anyway, moving through here really quickly, I want to talk about the third one is joy. Breaking down in joy is a feeling of enjoyment and fulfillment, pleasure and fun. Enjoyment, fulfillment, pleasure, and fun. These are needs of ours. They are not just, we've been taught in our cultures to put these things to the side. I can just make money. Let me go over here and make money for a long time doing something I hate. And then, I don't enjoy this, but that's not really important. Like passion, that's another passion, pleasure, fun, and enjoyment. Really, that's what joy really is those are the elements of it, right? So we'll deprive ourselves of what we're impassioned about, right? Because we've been taught to, like, the important thing is just to do this work for making money, instead of, like, and not realizing that our work is like 8 to 10 hours a day of lives. And if that's something we don't enjoy, we are depriving ourselves of something we need for 10 hours a day. I want you to think about that a second again. We are chronically and institutionally depriving ourselves of something we need often for 8 to 10 hours a day. And we wonder why there's so much illness going on in the world. There's so much illness going on in America versus the countries that the work ethic is not the same. There's so much illness going on over here. And we can't figure it out, right? And we make all these other things. Well, we don't eat the same as them. We don't do the thing. We don't live the same. That's why we're sick. We are depriving ourselves of passion. We are depriving ourselves of passion in the name of making more money. We are isolating ourselves in the name of making more money, right? Or in the name of whatever our culture is called, whatever our culture is putting underneath that. And we're not being at peace in the name of being, making more money or being seen as important or whatever that is. We're depriving ourselves of so many of our needs. And this is why so much dysfunction is happening, right? We're wondering why addictions are rising. We're wondering why people are very violent and dysfunction. This is where our dysfunctions come from. People are just trying to soothe the pain of their unmet need in the only way that they know how. And oftentimes, the way we know how to soothe an unmet need is through a very toxic way. Toxic and unhealthy or violent way, right? And the bodies are not just, they're not out here betraying us or punishing us. They're trying to speak to us. Our bodies are just communicating to us. They're sending us a message. Hey, buddy. Hey, miss. Hey, love, person I love deeply. You are living in a way that is opposite of what you're here for. You are living in a way that is depriving you of the very things you need to thrive. That's all it is. That's all it is. Majority of the time, I would say 99% of the time, there is another reason why illness shows up in the body, and I'll talk about that in another video. But that only happens a small percentage of the time. Small. The majority of the time is we do not have enough love energy in our body, and one of the main reasons we don't have it is because we have these unmet needs. So joy is the other one. How much fun do you have in your life on a consistent basis? Do you have a consistent and frequent relationship with pleasure? Right? Are you having the type of sex you want to have? Are you having it when you want to have it? A lot of times I did this video where I talked about how oftentimes we bring the energy that caused us to be sick into our healing process. Well, this is what I was talking about, right? We deprive ourselves. A lot of times when we're trying to heal, we often think, oh my God, like, because we're taught to see ourselves as just the tip of the iceberg instead of the entire iceberg. So we think, oh my God, we don't think about the unmet need, but we think, oh my God, it must be something I'm eating. So let me stop eating all of my favorite things that I love to eat, right? So I may love this cake, or I may love this, chicken, or I may love whatever that is. And then I go into this, vegan, organic, macro diet where you only can eat spinach salads. and you feel a sense of deprivation, and so you further feel a sense of deprivation. You further feel like there's no more pleasure being in you're being denied pleasure in your life, and you're further making yourself sick. And you can't understand because you're saying, well, I'm eating all the right things. I'm eating all the right things, and I'm doing everything that all these wellness experts are telling me that I need to do, and I'm still not healing. And it's because you haven't addressed the root cause of your illness. Your illness wasn't because you weren't getting enough wheatgrass in. Your illness was because you weren't getting enough pleasure in. You weren't having enough fun. You weren't engaging in your passions enough. Right? So number 3 is joy. That's one of the core soul needs. And we need to have a consistent and frequent relationship with joy. You have to prioritize your joy. Don't stop making joy negotiable. It's not. You have to experience joy every day. One thing I do with my clients is let's say, hey, how can you feel joy every day? Do something every single day that you deeply enjoy. Deeply, deeply, deeply enjoy. Not just occasionally, but deeply. It brings a huge sense of joy into you, right? That could be calling your best friend and laughing for 15 minutes. That could be going for a walk by the ocean. It could be I had a client recently who loved to go bike riding, and she didn't just like to ride her bike around like the neighborhood. She liked like nature bike riding, like mountain biking and things like that. So I was like, you got to find, and she didn't live in a place anymore where there were mountains. So I said, you got to find a place, go find some hills, go find something, go on a 2-week mountain bike trip. You've got to meet this need because that's why you're starting to feel depressed. Right? That's just something, depression oftentimes is just a signal that we have been living a life that has been depriving us of what we need. And usually it's the need for our joy or our community, our connection, joy and belonging. So in the interest of time, I'm going to speed through this last one. So the last one, the last soul need that we have is we have a need to feel loved. And that means when I mean loved in this concept, I'm talking about that you have a need to be seen, to be valued and appreciated, and to feel supported. So you feel seen, you feel valued and appreciated, and you feel supported. That is a soul need, right? And when you feel that, again, you will feel the charge of life. You feel the charge of love. When our needs are met, this is how we feel the more of love energy in our bodies, right? We feel more love energy in our bodies. So when we don't, right? When we don't feel loved, this is when a lot of times we'll start to feel the elements of shame or the elements of sadness. Remember, there's 3 signals that come. First is discomfort, and it's emotional. So when our soul needs aren't being met, the signals are emotional first. When our physical needs aren't being met, the signals are physical first, right? So we'll have an emotional feeling. We'll start to feel sad. We may feel shame. After we feel sad, if it goes for a long time where we don't feel loved, we'll start to feel shamed. We'll start to feel like something's wrong with us, right? And then that's the painful feeling. The shame is the really painful part. Or we may feel depression, which is the pain part. And then the suffering comes in if we don't feel love for a long time. And I'm going to give you one more study before we close out about love. And about a study that they showed about love. And I'm surprised we don't teach this, and they don't teach this in medical schools. But this was a study I found out about when I was getting my degree in psychology. Again, and if we don't if we don't feel loved for a very long time, for prolonged amounts of time, we start to suffer. So that's where illnesses will come up and diseases will come up. That's when also dysfunctions will come up. When we'll start to try and seek love out, try and meet our need for love in healthy and toxic ways. That's when we'll start to suppress parts of ourselves and try to pretend we're somebody else instead of who we actually are, because we think the person that we're pretending to be will receive love. That person gets love. So a lot of us pretend to be, people we're not. That's why a lot of us will suppress aspects of ourselves because we believe those aspects of ourselves. Like for me, I used to suppress my sexuality, so people didn't know that I was same gender loving because I believed and I was made to believe that I would be rejected if people knew about it, and that people would abandon me, which is they would withdraw love from me, which is what I needed. And so what I would do is I pretended I was straight for a very long time. I would date women, all type of stuff like that. Because at least when I was straight, people wanted to be around me. I had community and things like that. And I felt some type of love, but that's really not the deepest level of love that your soul needs, because your soul needs, another one of your needs is you need authentic self-expression. So you may be feeling, you may be meeting this need, but you're denying yourself from another need to try and meet this one, right? So anyway, we need love. Love, this is not a frivolous thing. If you don't receive love, you'll go into dysfunction. You'll go into dysfunction of suppressing yourself some type of way, or trying to pretend some type of way, or you may go into addiction. Like a lot of sex addiction is not about the act of sex itself. It's about the person trying to get love. And the only way they know how to feel seen or feel valued or feel supported in the world is if that person is sexual connection. Right. And so a lot of our dysfunctions are coming out of trying to meet a need. So, the study that I wanted to share with you was something in my undergraduate, when I got my undergraduate degree, which is in psychology. There was a study that came up in one of my classes, and this study looked at. It was talking about this study they did many years ago. Now, I don't think they do studies like this, at least not openly, because it's not ethical. But at the time, the ethics were different for us, so they were able to do the study. But the study that they did was with babies and newborn babies. And they separated the babies into the study group and the control group. And so the control group babies, they got the regular natural care of newborn babies. They were fed often, and the people and the nurses and everybody with them picked the babies up, right? And they picked the babies up and they would hold them, and then they would also talk to them, right? They would also just say, "Hey, how are you doing?" Or "You're such a cutie pie," or "You're such a sweetie," and pinch their little cheeks and things like that, right? So everything we do to like newborn babies, just holding them and loving them and cherishing them and nourishing them, right? That was the control group. The study group had the opposite experience. So they were fed regularly. They got their physical needs met, right? They had shelter. They were in a comfortable room. They got fed regularly. They got water. They weren't denied any of these things, right? They got all of that. The only difference was they were not touched. They didn't touch them, and they didn't speak to them lovingly, right? So they didn't touch them. They didn't pick them up and coo them. They didn't like pinch their little cheeks and say how cute and beautiful they were. They didn't do any of that, like they did for the control group. So they looked at this group. They studied this group over a course of several months. And what they found in the difference between what happened between these two groups was profound. Now, I want to give you a trigger warning because it's kind of sad, but I really want you to understand this because it directly speaks to what I'm talking about. So anyway, the control group, the study group the control group who got picked up and nourished and all of that, they developed into healthy children. There was no problems with their development. They developed naturally and normally. The study group, who was not touched and who was not cooed and who was not appreciated, right? What they found was more than half of the babies in that group died. Now, they were not born with defects. They were not born with anything like that. But they didn't receive their need for love. I need you to be very clear about this. Like, this is my work this message in my work out there. I'm not just speaking like airy fairy stuff. This is down deep in the cells. This is true stuff. This was a study that was done. This is a scientific study. You can find it. These kids, half of these babies died. They died. And the other ones who survived had severe illnesses develop. So again, but we think about, well, that's just for babies. No, that's for all of us. We don't grow out of the need. These are needs for the rest of our lives. Just like you don't grow out of the need for water and food and shelter and sleep. You don't ever grow out of the need for that. Now, the amount that you need may change. It changes. You need more sleep when you're a baby. You need more sleep when you get older, right? You need more, you may need more food when you're a baby, less food when you get older, right? It's the same. You may need more community at certain times in your life. You may need less, but you still need it, right? You may need more joy at a certain point. Like, you may need more pleasure and more whatever. You can do less at a certain point of your life. It will change the amount or degree that you need, but the fact that you need it never changes. And so just like we need to feel loved, we need to feel it. We need to be touched. We need to be told, our beauty and our value and our importance and our intelligence. We need to be praised for those things and celebrated for those things. We need to be supported, right? This is not something that is negotiable. And we have been taught in our communities and our cultures that these things are not really important. And this is why so many of us are suffering and we don't know why. And we're trying all this other stuff like changing diets and exercise and all that stuff. And it's helping a little bit, but it's not helping a lot. And it's not helping a lot because it's not the root cause. It's not the root cause. The root cause of our suffering is we have unmet needs. The root cause of why our lives are not delicious and our lives are not thriving, and the root cause for why our bodies are not healthy and our bodies are not thriving, is because we have not been taught about our soul needs and how to meet them. And this is what I do. A large part of my work is when somebody comes to me, I do videos like this to share with you and educate you about what your soul needs are and how to meet them. And how meeting our needs is an act of love. It's an act of loving ourselves. It is a part of loving ourselves. It is important. It is vitally important. As a matter of fact, it's not just important, your whole life depends on it. The health of your body depends on it, and the well-being of your life depends on it. You cannot live a happy, fulfilling, successful life without meeting your needs. It's just not possible. And you cannot have a healthy body and a thriving body where your needs have gone unmet for prolonged amounts of time. So one of the things I do with my clients, especially my clients who come to me for healing help, who have some type of disease or illness, is I work with them and I look at, okay, where are some unmet needs? And again, I just shared the 4 core ones with you. So why I say 4 core, why they're the 4 core soul needs is you can't go for a long time without these needs being met before you start to suffer, before you go into the period of suffering. Just like you can't go without food, water, or sleep for a long time, or shelter for a long time, without starting to suffer, right? So these are the stuff. There are about 7 other of your soul needs. I'll be doing a course here. I'm putting a course together right now where I'm going to teach you about all 11 of the soul needs, what the signals are that our emotional body sends to us to let us know that we need to be meeting these needs. And how the suffering happens, and then how to meet these needs, right? What are some ways that we could take to start to meet them? But again, that's why, the body is not punishing us. It's trying to speak to us. It's trying to communicate to us. And a lot of times it's communicating where we've been disconnected from our need for joy, or our need for belonging, or our need for um, our need for peace or our need for love, right? The feeling of support and being valued and seen. And you'd be amazed at how quickly and how miraculously and how easily your body just starts to heal itself when you start to meet your needs on a consistent and a prolonged basis. Not just for like a day and then you go starve yourself from that need for another 3 months. Like that's not, like there are countless stories out there of people who have been diagnosed with some type of terminal illness or incurable illness who just dramatically and drastically changed their lives, right? They went and they were separated from their children and they went and lived next door to their children, or they always wanted to see the world or travel the world and they just went and traveled the world, or they began to do the work of loving themselves and surrounding themselves with people who really love them, or people who left stressful jobs. They were just like, I'm just going to leave this stressful job. Since I only have so much time left, I always hated this job. I'm going to stop working at this job. And there's countless of stories of people who had terminal and incurable illnesses who just did that alone. They didn't change diet. They didn't try some very extreme healing practice or modality. They just did that. And they received miraculous healings, total and miraculous healings, right? And it's because we have not been taught about who we really are. We are souls having experiences in human bodies, and there are needs. There are needs that we have. We have physical needs, which meets the needs of the tip of the iceberg. And then there are soul or energetic needs. That is the bottom of the iceberg. That's the part of the iceberg that's unseen, right? Which is the energetic part, the spiritual part of us, right? That the unseen part of us. And the spiritual part of us is the biggest part of us. It's the part that needs to be paid the most attention to. The most attention to. And we have been paying the least attention to it. And it's now time to flip the script so that we can experience true wellness in our bodies and true well-being and thriving in our lives. And this is one of the keys. I hope this has helped you all. I don't see many questions being posted by you. I know I've been on here for an hour and a half. I was not intending that today. But this was really important. And I really wanted to share this with you. I see someone saying, I want to interview you. Oh, Phyllis, I would love to be interviewed by you if you're still watching. Just send me an inbox and we can set that up. Karen says, human touch and love is so vital for all of us to flourish and live this human experience. Absolutely, Karen. Absolutely. And we're not taught enough about it. We're just not taught. We need to be touched. That's how we feel love. We need to experience joy. We need to be at peace. And we need to have a sense of belonging and community. And these things are not just things we need to have every blue moon. We need to have a consistent experience of these. We need to, just like you eat every day, just like you drink water every day, right? And just like when you miss a meal or you don't drink water in a day, you feel like, oh, wow, I really need to rectify that, right? And you do more. You eat more than you would usually have eaten the next day, or you drink more water than you would drink the next day. Or when you've gone a long time without sleep, you sleep longer than you would have usually. It's the same thing. When you've gone for a long time without meeting these core needs, you need higher doses of them. You need to saturate yourself in them for a while. So before I go on a whole nother hour and a half long tangent into this, thank you so much, you guys, for being here. Thank you also for all the birthday wishes you gave me last week. That just touched my heart in such a deep way. I am 40 now. I'm really looking forward to this decade of my life. And I have something really special I'm going to share with you this upcoming week, which is 10 lessons I learned from my 4 decades of living. I think you're going to really enjoy that. But please join me next Sunday when I'll be sharing another live with you all. I love working with you all in this way. I love sharing the wisdom and the lessons I learned along my journey with you in this way. And I hope that this information is helping you create a more thriving and delicious life for yourself and a more healthy and well body for yourself. Until next time, I love you. Go love yourself. Bye.